is Member Stephen Leanis, Member Monique Greenberry, Fire Chief Brian Nardelli, Member James Sweeney, and myself, Chair Kenneth Galligan. Our Zoning Enforcement Officer, Building Superintendent, and Clerk to the Zoning Board tonight is Mr. James Pluff. Our Recording Secretary tonight is Monica Fragazzo. I would ask everyone that's in the room tonight, if you have an electronic device, phone, or whatever, either put it on silent or shut it off. If you need to use your phone, I would appreciate it if you'd take your conversation out in the hallway. It can become disruptive to the meeting. I will also notify you that this proceeding tonight is being televised. It is live on TV, and from time to time over the next month it will be replayed on the Brockton channel. Prior to the start of the hearing tonight, there is the opportunity for any petitioner to withdraw prior to the start of the hearing. Is there anyone here tonight that wants to withdraw prior to the start of the hearing? So we have no withdrawals. The format of the meeting will be, I will call the case. The petitioner will come up to the podium, present the case to the board. When the petitioner has finished the presentation, I'll ask the board members if they have any questions of the testimony that was just given by the petitioner. When that has been completed, I will then open it up for public discussion. This is a public hearing. Everybody has an opportunity to speak. And when you do speak, we would appreciate if you speak so that everybody in the room can hear what you have to say. I will ask for those that are in favor of the petition, if they want to come forward and speak in favor. When that has been completed, I'll ask if there is anyone here that wants to speak in opposition. When that has been completed, I will ask then if there are any elected officials in the room that want to be heard relative to the issue. Following that, I will then close the public hearing. At that point, I will open it up for deliberations by the board members. Now, at this point of the hearing, the only people that will be talking are the board members, and we will be deliberating based upon the testimony that was given during the hearing. At some point, you will probably hear a zoning board member make a motion to grant. If that is seconded, I will then have the clerk call the roll. In order for a petition to pass, to be successful, if all 5 members vote in the affirmative, the petition will be granted. If the vote is 4 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, the petition will be granted. If the petition receives a 3-2 vote or anything less than that, the petition will not be granted. Once the roll has been taken, the clerk will tell me what the vote is. I will then announce the result of the hearing, and I will tell you whether or not the petition is granted or denied. Board members, anything before we get started? Everybody's good? All right, the first petition tonight is petition 2320, the petition of Ralph and Marquis Ambrose, 164 Riverview Street, Brockton, Mass, for a variance, seeking relief from section 27.9 to construct an addition and deck within the side yard setback requirements in an R1C zone located at 164 Riverview Street. Please give your name to the clerk.
James Callahan.
What is it?
James Callahan.
Got it.
Contractor for the Ambroses. Hi, Jim.
And
Ralph Ambrose. Marquis Ambrose.
You can make sure you're talking to this microphone, please. If you can talk into the microphone when you talk, please.
okay, proceed.
Okay, so I'm a rookie at this. I don't, I'm not a public person, but so the Ambroses it's kind of like a hardship, because the Ambroses, they have 8 kids, and they're starting from down here, all the way up there, and that's basically the reason for the additional bedrooms upstairs on the top level. The house is on a two lot, and the house is right in the middle. That's why, how the builders used to do it, I guess. I don't know. But that's why the need for, we've got a 2-car garage and a living room over it. and then with the 3 bedrooms upstairs. They love where they live, the kids love the school system, and to move at this point, you know what I mean, would be not too good because you don't even know your neighbors. Like I said, they're very comfortable in the neighborhood. So we're just trying to get this project going for them, and I'm not sure what else to say.
You referenced, you're appealing Section 27-9. What is it of that section that you are asking relief from?
From a setback, from the left side, I believe. That would be the garage side. That would be the new garage.
So 27-9 says you need 15 feet in an R1C.
Right.
Okay. What are you asking for?
Well, there's for relief, it's only going to be 5 feet 9, I believe, from the lot line to the garage.
Okay, the plan says 5.4. So
Okay.
what you're asking for is relief on that side, which will end up having 5 feet 4 inches from the new garage to the property line.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what you're asking for.
Right.
All right, now, with this request for a variance, you need to show a hardship. And can you tell the board what the hardship is here?
Well, the hardship is because they have 8 kids, and there's only 3 bedrooms now. As far as that goes, you know, it's a raised ranch. And, you know, pretty soon, you know, the kids are going to get older and bigger and need more space, you know what I mean? Need more, their own bedrooms. And that's what I would consider that a hardship, you know. Since they already own the house and they don't really want to move.
Okay, hardship usually relates to the land, the topography, the soil, financial hardship. Any of those in play here?
Well, the house just sits on two lots right in the middle. So, I mean, they have a lot of land, and I don't think there's I don't know, I wouldn't say that there's a problem with that. Like I said, I'm not an attorney or anything. I don't really know. All I know is, you know, what they need, you know what I mean, and what they're asking for.
So this building now has 3 bedrooms,
Yes,
and when it is completed, what would the total number of bedrooms be?
6.
How many?
6.
7.
7?
7,
7, sorry, because a master bedroom.
yeah.
That would be all on the top floor. Master bedroom and the 3 other bedrooms, and then 3 bedrooms on the second floor, I guess it is.
Do you know what the height of this building is when it's done?
It's 31 feet, I believe.
31 feet to the ridge pole, to the
Yes.
top?
I know we had plenty of space for the 35 limit, I know that.
That's the question I was asking.
Right,
Yeah.
no, it's well under that.
Board members, any questions?
So on this design, we're going up and we're going out, right?
Correct. There'll be like a living, like a den type thing over the garage, you know, like a family room. So they can maintain a 2-car garage, and then they might as well not waste the space up top, you know?
Is there anything similar in the neighborhood that you know of?
There's a lot of like 3 families and 2 families, you
Right
know?
across.
In that, it's not, I wouldn't say there is like that. Like I said, there's a lot of 2 families and a lot of, this is a raised ranch stuck in 3 families and 2
It's a
families.
mix. We have like different type of houses
Right.
in our street. We have multiple families.
Just speak into the mic when you're speaking, please.
No, I said like we have a mix of multiple type of houses in our street. We have multiple families, we have singles, we have colonial, we have ranch, we have raised ranch. Yeah.
What about the land? You said it's a double lot. Is there any drop-offs, any angle of the lot? It's hard to tell when I was driving by it to
Seem
really
like-
see.
An angle, say like pie shape, no, this is square back.
Square back. No drop-offs?
No,
Could this addition, instead of going towards the side, could you do the garage going towards the back at all? Is that a possibility, or?
well, it would interrupt the flow of the house. I mean, in order to put it back, then it would be kind of odd for the family room to be pushed way back. And then, and if you push it back, then you're not going to have really a two-car garage. You're going to have probably the same type of thing. We tried in the beginning to make the cars go sideways, like, so to have so that would shorten up the garage, but it just didn't work out that way. It didn't work out good. As far as turning into the garage and that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Board members, you all set? Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official who wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. That completes the public discussion. I am now going to close that section of the hearing and now open it up for discussion among the board members. Board members.
Mr. Chair, if I may address the applicant. On this design, it has windows off the garage facing the neighbor's side. Is that part of the plan? Okay. Would you be against having no windows on that side since you're going to be so close
That
to
would
the
be
neighbor?
fine.
Yeah.
Okay. At least on the second level.
Right. Just so no.
Oh.
You're right over the neighbor's yard.
Right. Yeah, we just shut them windows off on that side, you know what I mean? That's not a big deal.
I think, Mr. Chairman, I think normally I'd be concerned about the size, but if you look in that neighborhood down there, there are a number of three-deckers. It'll look out of place for a raised ranch, but it wouldn't necessarily look out of place for the neighborhood. So my concerns normally are not the concerns I would have with this property.
Well, the zoning is R1C, and the multifamilies that are down there were built prior to zoning in 1967, so they are what they are.
But I think my thing is, it doesn't, I understand that, I think my thing is, though, it's a big house, but it doesn't look out of place because of the other big houses. It's not going to be detrimental, I would say, to the current environment that it's in. Is the way I see it from driving down there.
I would agree
So-
with you.
The side yard setback on the proposed garage addition is 5 feet 4 inches from the property line. When I went down and looked at this, it's my estimation that the house next door, which is 156, is about 5 feet from the property line. So from the house next door to this proposed addition is about 10 feet separating the two of them. That's not shown on the plan, but if you went and viewed it, you would see that. There's also a building in the backyard that's not shown on this plan.
What is the building? The building in the backyard? Is it a shed?
Yeah, the issue I have is the hardship. I mean,
Yeah. There's not much of a hardship, though.
yeah, they didn't show a hardship.
Well, they did say that they tried to turn the garage, so they tried different avenues to make it work, and it just wasn't working. So,
Motion to grant.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus?
No.
Chief Nardelli?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry,
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 3 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative.
The vote is 3 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative. The petition, as presented, is denied.
Do I have a question? Could I have a question?
Well, informally, yes.
Oh, yeah. So, like, how could we go about doing that? Just shorten up the garage and then come back again?
That's an option. I would suggest you get to the building department upstairs, and he can probably give you some guidance.
Okay? All right.
All right, the next petition, 2321, the petition of 157 Center Street, LLC, 994 Jefferson Street, Fall River, Mass., for a variance seeking relief from Section 2734, an I-2 zone principal permitted uses, and Section 2753, subsection 8, parking spaces required per bedroom unit, to convert the existing building into 24 residential units in an I-2 zone located at 157 Center Street.
How are you? My name's Carrie Jordan, kind of the project liaison for this, and this is my first time doing this as well. When we started this project, we actually had a valid variance that we got from the previous owner. We thought we had utilized and worked against it where we pulled a building permit, we did facade and so on and so forth. So we initially thought we were just coming for modification of the existing variance. Subsequently, we kind of are in this scenario where no one was really sure what we needed to file, so we just filed all over again. What we're looking to do is, based upon going through tech review, and we're looking forward to going into the planning board next week, in order for us to accommodate for an order of public safety, the fire department wanted a full turn radius of a fire truck. In order to do that, I had to have my engineer eliminate some of the parking. In doing that, I then did go forth to bat, secure 33 off-site parking. So I actually am now with the 33 off-site, in addition to the 16 on-site that I have, one ADA approved parking. I have a total of 49. I don't know what else to do. If this isn't passed, this is going to be a huge problem for a financial detriment to this company. We've invested a astronomical number of finances into getting this project and redevelopment in that area.
Is that all?
So this was before the board well over a year ago, and it was granted. And now there has been a change in how the parking is going to be arranged in the backyard. They have exercised their variance. They have done work on the building, and now at the final stage, some changes have been mandated for the parking in the back. So they have now gone to bat to get parking across the street, and you should have a letter in your packet with that agreement. So this was approved, and I have just a question for you on the total number of parking spaces.
Sure.
That you have 24 residential units.
Yes.
So nothing has changed in the building at all?
No.
You have 16 on-site
Yes.
and 33 across the street for a total of 49 parking spaces.
They're not across the street. We did try to secure this Court Street parking, which is the one that's across the street, or I believe, the one that was directly across the street. Unfortunately, there's no overnight parking that was allowed for that parking area, so they actually have it at their Court Street, which is just around the corner, they said.
Right, so there's no overnight parking in the garage, correct?
Yes.
But there is overnight parking at ground level north of the garage.
Then maybe that's what they're talking about. Forgive me, I'm not familiar with the area, like exact location, so I
think we went
apologize
through
if I've misspoke.
I think we went through this before for off-site parking that was mandated. And the surface parking, which is off of the Court Street side, is what I believe
Sure.
that is referencing.
When I spoke with Bat, they were very familiar with this circumstance due to the fact I believe that there had been other developers in a similar situation. So due to that, they kind of went based upon what they had provided them. So this is me assuming that that's what, you're correct, if that's what they've done in the past.
That's how I understand it. So if you understand it the same way, then that's the way it is.
Yes, that's how I,
So there was a significant amount of parking that was provided in the original granting on-site, and now with the change in the traffic pattern on-site, you've lost some of the parking. That's what this whole thing has come down to.
yes.
Okay, good. So we
Yes,
understand.
I guess so. When we filed, no one was sure whether the variance would be considered an acted variance by the board. So I was directed to kind of apply all over again. So otherwise, we would have just been seeking a modification to the existing, which would have been paying attention just to the parking area.
Okay. Board members, there's a couple of things at work here. There's a possibility that the original variance could be amended as null and void and grant them a new variance, or we could take the avenue of amending the original variance relative to the parking.
Would they get a year, another year?
What is it?
So if we amended, would they get another year to
Well,
get
it's a
the
use-
project off the ground?
Yeah, it's a use variance, and they've exercised it because
Already?
they've done a lot of work on the building already. And
Yes.
now, at the final stage of inspections, they've reached a situation where parking has been deemed to be not the way it should be. So they're back looking for an amendment to the original granting, which specified the number of parking spaces that had to be on-site. So one of the options we have is to amend the original granting, which is still in effect, and amend where the parking can take place. That's an option.
Okay. So not to get off topic, because we could do this in discussion, the motion would be to amend the original.
It could be.
Variance.
Depends on what the board wants to do.
Yeah, okay. I don't have any other questions other than that.
I do have a question. How far out from completion are you?
I am going in front of planning next week. So hopefully, I have my building permits, but I haven't gone in front of planning, so we're a little backwards. This is new to us. This is the first time we've developed in Brockton, so we were unaware of certain steps that you have, like tech review and things.
Gotcha.
So I completed and passed through tech review. I filed my stormwater permit today. I filed my dumpster permit today. I have all the other permits ready to kind of go into work, other than the use permit that I currently have that's active. As soon as we get through planning, then I'll be going in front of building department to make sure that everything is up to par there. But as far as my understanding, going through tech, we have everything ready to go. And then from there, hopefully we're 6 months out, because we're already 6 months behind. So we're ready to go. My team's just waiting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So depending upon what the board wants to do, if they want to go for a variance, they're going to have to demonstrate a hardship, just like they were starting out fresh, which they already did for the last one. The only fly in the ointment here is what has transpired with the parking, which they didn't expect that now it's there. So the board will have to determine how we want to handle it. So any other questions from the board members? Everybody's good? All right, is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Yes, please come forward.
Mr. Chair and Board, my name is Jed Resco. I'm one of the trustees next door at the Soco Lofts at 147 Center Street.
Could you just give your name again?
Jed,
Too fast
J-E-D.
for me.
So it's Jed, J-E-D, last name Hresco, H-R-E-S as in Sam, K-O. And so I'm one of the trustees at the Lofts at Soco, directly behind. We've been there for about 17 years. So I was actually torn as to which portion to speak in, because in general, we're not actually against this. I mean, it's in our interest to not have an abandoned building sitting behind us. We know it's been a threat in the past for squatters and a potential fire threat. So the last thing I want to say, my window faces directly out at that building. That building is probably from my window to that corner. And there's a part where the first driveway comes in from Center Street where the buildings are actually quite close to each other. So we've seen the earlier site plan, the one that had the 23 spaces for the 24 units, and I attended that previous hearing via Zoom where they got their approval. And their property line comes up against our line, up against our building pretty closely. Now, in a way, that's our fault for the developer on our side not buying that land in the first place. But what protects basically their cars from being up against our building is the easement that runs through there, and then we have a few deeded spaces in the corner there. So I'm here partly, not really in opposition, but to voice our concerns that we want to make sure that our interest and the interest of working together between the two properties is sealed as much as possible and made as formal as much as possible. Now, Mr. Ribeiro, I assume, is he still one of the owners? Wilton Ribeiro? Okay. So Mr. Ribeiro reached out to us a couple times, and one of the owners, and spoke in favor of being very cooperative with us, but we've never had those meetings. Both meetings were canceled by Mr. Ribeiro, where he's going to meet with the trustees and the property manager. We were going to walk the property and work out a number of these issues. Even something as simple as different color coding for the parking spaces so that our deeded spaces are respected, but likewise, our guests don't park in their spaces. Currently, guests in our building park on their property, and they've been gracious enough not to tow those folks in that, but you could see there's a danger for that being a situation. In terms of across the street, at the Bat Garage, Mr. Chair, you and I are both on a rezoning committee, of which some Bat representatives are on that committee, and I raised my concerns with them that this board and other parts of the city are approving parking. For example, 127 Center was the other job, which also said they were going to talk to Bat. Approving parking, but Bat won't let us park in the overnight garage, and they have the reasons for that. But if you're someone who does not feel secure and lives in the building, particularly like my girlfriend, would not feel comfortable walking from the Court Street side past the methadone clinic, right, which is on the right side of the garage, to it's dark at night. And so I think obviously that's not something the ZBA can work out directly with BAT. That's probably more the mayor's office kind of thing, but but you are approving site plans or approving variances with parking that depend on the BAT part of this. And I'm saying to you that it's not as straightforward as you might think, right? Now, in terms of the turning radius, it's possible that could be worked out with us. I don't know whether the fire department needs the radius in order to be able to effectively fight a fire, or in order to just be able to get out. Because the gate that separates their property from our gated lot is not a locked gate. It can be open at any time. And then a fire truck actually could then leave out to Commercial Street through, we've got an automatic gate that opens. So even there's a potential for us to work something out. but we'd like to talk, and that's not happened. This is our first time meeting, and so those are, those are some of our concerns. Another issue that we'd like to see hopefully addressed formally is there is a series of electric poles that cross our property, cross their property, and currently feed up through a window, literally through a window in their property. Their site plan before does not show those poles. So it looks to us like they're going to bury the utilities. We'd love to see that, and we'd love to see the power line come down from Center Street, and we think it's in the interest of all Brocktonians to bring down as many power lines as we can in the city, and we have an opportunity to do that there too. Lastly, the concerns about the viability of this project and this developer. Again, we met Mr. Ribeiro, seems like very nice people. We're not against them personally, but the track record's been sort of spotty. The permit they've had is a emergency permit to basically to seal the building, which included the roof and the windows, and frankly, we felt that the developers sort of pushed the limits of that permit, and my understanding is the city has also knocked them back on a few occasions about sort of pushing the limits of those kind of things. I think the fire department at one point shut down the job. And then there was this see-click-fix thing that was posted recently, which also printed photos. I brought 3, I apologize, but of with the current conditions.
To the clerk.
Doesn't look very high.
Thank you.
So again, I repeat, we're not against it. We want you to succeed ultimately, but we want to make sure that our concerns get baked into the record, so to speak. We also fully understand that a lot of this has to do with the site plan itself, and so we will be at the planning board next week for their site plan review as well. So thank you. And I look forward to talking. Thank you.
Thank you. I will say that this is scheduled to go before the planning board. If there's any revisions to be made with some of the suggestions that you brought up at the planning board meeting, if this is approved tonight, it would go to planning, and that would be the forum that you'd want to be in to make those changes. All right, so that was opposition. Is there anybody else that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Councilor.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jeff Thompson, Ward 5 City Councilor. So I want to speak in favor of this project. I believe, you know, a lot of the reasons have been discussed as to why this is important for the city of Brockton. This whole area of our city is changing from its primarily industrial use to a new residential use. 157 Center Street is one of the cornerstones of that turnaround in this area. Obviously, the hardship, if you do choose to issue a new variance on this matter, the hardship is clear. This is a industrial zone that really has no more capability of being used for an industrial use. They've already sunk hundreds of thousands of dollars into this project, and it would be beneficial to the city of Brockton for this project to move forward. I think I would recommend that the owner of this facility meet with the trustees of SoCo Lofts. I think there's conversations that need to be had. In Brockton, we like to be good neighbors, and so we would ask that you meet with the trustees of SoCo Lofts and maybe even potentially prior to the planning board so that everybody can be on the same page as this project moves forward. Also, just, you know, on the radar, I think the issue of the bat parking has been brought up, and I think that's a legitimate issue. I believe I don't know what the 127 Center Street is also using bat parking. I think 123 Court Street, when that came before you, that was also proposed to use bat parking. So, I think maybe as a city, we need an overall parking plan in this area if the properties themselves are not going to be able to support the parking for their developments. But overall, I think this is a good project. I did have the opportunity to walk through it with Mr. Jonathan DePina. Looks like it's coming along well, and I would hope that you would grant the variance in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other elected official who wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion on the issue. I will now open it up for discussion among board members.
So I would say, as the planning board representative, a lot of the issues that the resident brought up can be amended and ironed out at the planning stage. One thing I would like to see, I'd always like to see a stipulation on lighting in the front for all the downtown buildings. I don't think it's in the interest of the city to approve a project, have them iron out a parking plan, and then deny. So I would be in favor of extending.
So I think, as my role, I see this building as an ongoing conflagration hazard that I've thought of for many years because of its abandonment. Speaking with Deputy Chief Williams in the Fire Prevention Bureau, he's been very clear. He's worked with the owners for a while on different things that were happening that he didn't want to happen at the time, and they've been amenable to making whatever changes need to be done to stop that. I think it's a good project. I think, to look at this and say we're going to have industrial right next to this residential and next to a postal yard is pretty unrealistic from my perspective. I've been here all 51 years of my life. I just don't see that happening in that area. And to develop more housing right there, I think it would be great for what they're trying to do and get this eyesore that it currently is, unfortunately, away and make it a nice, bright building. So I think it's a really good project that I think that would enhance that entire area.
I would want to add that I think Councilor Thompson brings a good point about the builder having a conversation with the trustees because the issues that he brings up are valid points. So a conversation would probably help that a lot.
Sure.
So I'd want to reinforce that.
Sure. I'll reach out to them.
So when you look at the new parking scheme that they have put together, there is actually less parking on site than there was on the original granting. However, because of the layout of the turnaround, there's actually much more green space in that yard than there ever was before. So there's positive and negative to this, but one of the positives is the fact that they are now going to have green space as part of the two islands to create the turnaround. So that would be an enhancement actually for both buildings. So that's one of the positives that I saw out of it. And as far as the variance that we granted for the building, it is 24 two-bedroom units. Nothing has changed. Everything is identically the same. The only thing before us tonight is the on-site parking. So one of the options we have is to amend that variance to address the on-site parking, unless you want to go through a whole nother variance hearing.
I'd make a motion to amend the current variance.
On the motion, which one gives the builder more or less time?
Well, they've already started, so, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chairman, they've already started, so that clock's not running anymore, correct? So it doesn't really matter how long it takes them to get it done at this point, if I understand correctly.
That's how I would see it also, yeah.
Okay. Second.
All right, so the motion before us is to amend the original granting of the on-site parking that would then provide for not less than 16 on-site spots of 180 square foot parking spots, and to provide off-site parking for, they're telling us 33, which we have a letter that says that that is all in conformance. So now they're telling us they're going to have 49. But the motion would address the on-site parking, which is the 16, And I guess that's all we're going to be voting on, is to amend
The
that.
stipulation with the lighting, I don't know if that was in the last one, Mr. Chairman.
So what are we talking about lighting? Why don't you explain that a little better?
Architectural lighting, similar to the Enterprise building, I suppose, where you have at least both sides of the front lit. And I would even go as far as to say the east side, closest to the front of the building, that frontage, because as you drive into the downtown, you could see that building, it would be lit from a distance.
Sure.
Do
Okay?
they have to blink and flicker like the ones on the Enterprise that make?
No,
No, they actually, I have a,
Who did-
oh,
I did those, by the way.
I have a picture of the ones, and I'm not sure if it's the,
Listen, we're
oh,
done.
sorry,
Sorry, that wasn't a real question. That was me being sarcastic.
That was a comment.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
sorry.
But yeah, one side matches the other as far as lighting on the front of the building. Whether you do 2 or 4 is totally, would be up to you guys. But something on that east side of the property towards the front
Sure.
to match what you've done on the front.
Sure.
So what I understand is we're talking architectural lighting that would shine up, shine down type thing to
Correct.
illuminate the facade of the building.
Right, but not on the SoCo side as to, lighten up their lives.
Right, that might help address some of the concerns we heard tonight about walking across the street there too, so.
Right, we're trying to brighten
All
up
right,
the
so there's a
downtown.
motion made and seconded to amend the parking to not less than 16 and also do facade lighting. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lantis.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
That's 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The adjustment to the parking is granted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
You're all set.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The next petition is 2322. The petitioner Robert Belcher, trustee, Post Office Box 267, Milton, Mass. 02187, for a special permit and variance seeking relief from Article 4, Section 2734, to allow residential and commercial mixed use within a parking ratio minimum of 2 spaces per 50 in an I2 zone located 159 North Main Street.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Attorney John McCluskey, representing Robert Belcher, who is the trustee and owner of the property at 159 North Main Street. With me this evening is architect Daniel Orwig from Duxbury. Dan's been involved in many, many projects over the years, a lot of experience in making things happen and putting together a nice project. This matter came before the board actually a couple of years ago. I believe, can't remember whether it was Zoom or not, but I remember hearing the discussion and listening to the comments. And
Yeah.
Was it live? Yeah. So I was not a part of it at the time, but let me give you a brief overview of what the property's been like, what it's over the years, what's been going on. So this property is in an I2 industrial zone. And I think we might all agree today that an I2 industrial zone, given the fact that where Brockton is going as far as downtown, probably is not the highest and best use for this type of property. There's a large concrete and brick building on the property that's it's not usable. You can't bring it back to life. It needs to be taken down. The proposal, it was an automotive repair facility for many, many years. Mr. Belcher is now out of business. There still are a few vehicles and things on the property, but it's in an I2 zone, and there's nothing going on there. I think they're just being stored there. So the proposal is to construct. And actually, Dan, I gave you let's maybe get an overview of the building itself. So when this came before you a couple of years ago, it was denied. And the proposal at the time was to put in 80 two-bedroom units. There was an elevator on one far end of the building. There wasn't enough addressed as far as infrastructure regarding access for emergency vehicles, turnaround, and the like. So the new building that you have before you is a 50 unit. So my client has cut out 30 units from the property, from the proposal. His parking ratio, as opposed to, I think, 1.5 to 1.5 units to each two-bedroom apartment, it's now 2 parking units to each two-bedroom apartment, which I think you'll probably agree is probably a little higher than what the board has recently approved in many of the projects in downtown Brockton. So, Dan, can we go to the layout and the turnaround?
Okay. These were the fire trucks?
Yeah, fire trucks. So the first item that I'd like to just point out is how we've addressed the new turnaround for the emergency vehicles. Measurements have been taken, calculations made, that this will accommodate one of the larger vehicles from the fire department, and I think should fully comply with the chief's concerns and the department's concerns about how to have access to the building. I think in the old structure, or the old proposal, there was an elevator down this side of the building. Now there's one here and one here, so there's now 2 elevators, more than able to accommodate all of the 50 apartment units in the building. Up on the corner of Main, there's going to be a retail space of 2,280 square feet. That's the same as it was back a couple of years ago. And given the fact that this is in an I-2 zone, my guess is that whatever the use is going to be, probably is going to have to come before the board for some consideration, unless the zoning has changed there. And so now we have a below-grade parking facility. We have two levels of parking. One is below grade, and the entrance is from Charles Street. You come in here. Is Charles Street a one-way street?
No. Yes.
Yeah, Charles Street's a one-way street, so you come in, so there shouldn't be any issue relative to access in and out of the building. You come down one way, you go in, you come out, you continue to go down the same way.
Also,
and then,
just to correct that, Charles Street's a two-way street.
Yeah.
it is a two-way street? Okay, all right.
I've been going down it the wrong way.
I thought it was a one-way street. Okay. And then entrance to the parking for the first floor is off of North Main Street. So there's 2 entrances, 2 exits off the parking, and then of course you have the turnaround in the front of the building. So there's been a considerable change in what this building is all about. It's a luxury apartment building. There's a proposed roof deck. There's several hundred square feet of common area. There's a lounge area. And the parking is, as I say, better than what we're now seeing in the downtown area as far as new projects. I don't know if some of you were on the board back several years ago. Standard Modern Printing right across from the fire station. I don't think that was an industrial zone, but it's an industrial use. And basically that company found, we can't operate downtown Brockton anymore. This doesn't work for trucks coming and going, parking, et cetera. So they moved off to either Fall River or New Bedford, sold the property to Joffrey Anatole, who came before this board, and I believe got a 24-unit facility, apartment facility, luxury in that space, and that seems to have worked out pretty well. So that's the kind of thing we're looking at here. This is twice the size of that, but we've got twice the size of the property. So in all, so the hardship would be, first of all, you've got a dilapidated building that doesn't fit on the property, doesn't work on the property, I should say, needs to come down. You've got a changing downtown in an I-2 zone. So what do you bring into an I-2 zone? An I-2 zone is, accommodates contractor equipment sales and service, distribution plants, manufacture of food products, truck terminals, printing and engraving. Those things don't work down there anymore as far as what the overall plan is. So with all due respect, I'd ask the board to change its decision from a couple of years ago, grant the variance as requested, and the hardship, I think, is fairly evident and complete here. And this is going to be a good project. It's going to change the look of this property entirely, and it's going to fit in with what Brockton's trying to do. No more.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the hardship here relative to, as you know, land, slope, topography, financial?
I thought I did it enough for you.
Well, let's begin with a little bit more here.
So we have an I-2 zone, and all around here, we're beginning to see changes in use and variances being granted to allow more residential properties. So to me, the hardship in and of itself is the I-2 zone, because trucking terminals and, you wouldn't bring your company downtown Brockton to have a trucking terminal. It just wouldn't work. It takes, from my office to here, it takes about 20 minutes to get here. And if I was having trucks and things coming in and out of my property, I wouldn't go downtown Brockton. So that zone designation belongs on the outskirts of the city, not in downtown. The building itself is a wreck, needs to come down. You really can't convert that to anything reasonable. So that, again, is a hardship. So I think those two are very good hardships to hang our hat on as far as compliance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40A. And the apartments themselves will attract new people, more vibrant community. It'll attract people bringing in restaurants and other businesses downtown, and it's going to change. And we've started to see it. I mean, this is a nice thing that I remember about 30 years ago, I had a client come in from Germany, and I drove him through downtown Brockton. He said, "What's this?" I said, "This is downtown." He says, "It wouldn't last too long in Germany. We'd tear that down in a heartbeat." So that's just the way other countries do things, and this has been a long road for the city of Brockton to bring this back. And I think this is going to be a nice project for it.
Is there any particular reason why a plan was not submitted to the board of what the new building is going to look like?
It was.
It was submitted.
Do we have it? We had a large rendition of the original building, and
I submitted a huge packet.
It looks very similar to the old building, I think is what he's
I've got
getting.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Smaller.
all right, so that's leading up to my question here. I do not have a copy of what is on that board right in front of me. So my question is, I don't have that.
I submitted
Okay.
7 copies.
So I'm leading up to my question here. If this building is going to have that many fewer apartments, is the footprint of the building going to change from what it originally was? It is not. So the footprint and the design, the layout, and everything of that building remains the same?
Except for the 2 elevators.
Okay, I understand that. That was a key component of the refusal last time, was the
The
fact...
turning radiuses, that was one of the issues the board had.
Yeah, just hold the microphone when you're talking.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. So the changes to the building were the turning radius is going into the basement garage, handicap parking. We met with the planning board to go through each item and introduce that. But as far as the building itself, the only change was the second elevator.
So,
And reducing 2 levels of floors. So it's only a 4-story building.
so there is the answer to my question. The new proposed building is not as high as the original proposal was.
That's right. Yeah, it is not.
Okay, that answers my question then.
Oh, okay.
Secondly, a concern that I have that I want to make sure that I bring forth here to you is that on the Charles Street side, where the entrance is going to be for the lower basement garage,
Yes?
Charles Street is a two-way street. It is only 36 feet, where the conventional street is a 50-foot layout.
This is a 33-foot layout,
Yeah,
yes.
it's a very narrow street. So the way you have proposed the siting of the building on this plot is that the building is very close to the sidewalk.
It is. We moved it back 3 feet from the original building is right on the property line. In fact, it goes over a little bit in one area. So we've moved it back from the property line, both here and here. And that footprint is the same as the original footprint, but moved slightly back. All of this is to accommodate the one-way loop for a fire truck to go through, because we can't reduce this area any more than we have right now.
So in the original plan, as I remember it, the building sat right on the corner of North Main and Charles Street.
Yes, it did, yes.
Now you're telling us it's sitting 3 feet back from...
Yes.
All right. My concern with that garage entrance and exit from the basement level is that where Charles Street is narrow, the sight lines as you pull out of that garage, where the original building was located, you would have to put the whole front end of your car out into the street before you could look specifically to the left.
That's right. You don't now, because we've made 25-foot radiuses on both directions, and we have our crosswalk marking here so that you can nose out and look both ways and go either right or left.
Okay, that was a serious problem that was in the last plan.
Yes.
Most likely it was because the building was sitting right on the property
Yes.
line of Charles Street.
Yes.
So if that building is set back, that is going to reduce that problem that I just brought up.
Yes.
You can see this in Boston, you come out of the building and there's a signal, there's an alarm, and that could probably be, we could probably stipulate that we would do something like that to alleviate any issues. It's a pretty common occurrence in cities that you see that.
Well,
Incidentally, the plans were also submitted electronically. So I don't know what happened.
All right, well, we'll live with what we got. So I would say that my concern of a vehicle pulling out of that parking garage and immediately going across the sidewalk, I'll remember from the planning board, when this goes to planning, that may be something that the planning board will want to incorporate as a safety device going in and out of that garage. Will that garage be secured? In other words, would there be a gate that goes up and down, or is it open all the time? Or has that ever been
It
discussed?
hasn't been decided yet. I thought we would go through planning with that as an issue. We have all of the building design issues to go through with planning board.
Okay, so,
It could be, and it's easy to do.
yeah, I'm just throwing it out there that for security purposes, that may be something that you would want to look into, and I'll defer it to my
You
planning
can
board.
control those with your phones these days.
I think what we're looking at tonight is this a proper use and the proper building to sit on that property? Now, some of these little things we're talking about can get taken care of in planning. So, all right, so you've reduced the height of the building, the footprint of the building remains the same, and you've increased the opening and sight view going out onto Charles Street. Very good.
Could I ask about the fire truck portion of it? So is it going into the garage? I'm just confused. It's hard to understand on the plan. It's going into...
It isn't going into the garage.
It's going around the side.
Excuse me. Yeah, the tracking software we use for fire trucks.
Yep.
So the fire truck is pulling here and can swing through and go out one way and then go out that way.
But is it going under the building?
No, it's not meant to go under. Emergency vehicle can, but usually isn't this true that fire trucks don't go in a basement?
No, we don't. That's why I didn't know, if that was the case, I didn't know why you had done it.
No,
That's why I was concerned.
No, we just made it easy to go through the parking area so that they had complete access. And we have a kind of a secondary place to park here, and we're recommending to the traffic, is it agency or something, to have a no parking area here and maybe a no parking area right in that location.
Understood.
But that's to be determined.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So right now, there's unrestricted parking on Charles Street, I believe, and on North Main Street, north of Charles Street, on the east side of North Main Street is restricted parking only. Because of the sight lines coming out of Charles Street looking to the left, it's very difficult to see vehicles that are heading north on North Main Street. So on-street parking here is going to be very, very limited. And if you're going to have commercial space on the first floor, the availability of parking for anybody that's going to be using that is going to be pretty restricted. Going to have to be on-site.
Yes.
Yep.
Remember, we've got 2 parking spaces per livable space, which is pretty good now.
Is there any consideration given for UPS trucks and things of that nature that make deliveries?
Yes.
Where would they pull in here?
Well, we have this plaza area, and then we have a parking area designated right here for that sort of thing, which has access to the elevator.
Okay, very good. All right, board members, any other questions?
I guess my question would be, do you have any plans for exterior lighting?
We haven't addressed that issue yet.
Okay.
We addressed all of your original.
I know.
We will address that. And we're at a corner, and it will be important to have the facade lit up.
Okay, all right.
Is that something we can address in planning when it gets to planning?
We can.
Yeah. All right, board members, any other questions? Everybody's good? All right, I'm going to open it up for public discussion. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Yes, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Mark Edward Lawton. Was it 7 months ago that we were here on this matter? 7 or 8 months ago. But I remember I came up and spoke in favor. I was born not too far from this site. I represented this whole area in the House of Representatives, and I get excited when I see a project of this nature that is truly transformative for my old city and for yours. And I want to truncate my remarks just by saying that I favor it. I remember when Chief Nardelli and the old chief, and I don't mean to offend him, but I say that in an affectionate way. The boss, I suppose you would call him, right, Chief?
Be careful now, be careful.
But I remember the recommendations that were made, and they were public safety recommendations or observations or advisory corrective measures that should be taken. And I've been following this matter with Tony Blaze and Dan, and based on my observations, they've addressed all those concerns 100% based on my observations and memory. And again, I'll leave it short because everybody wants to get home to watch the Celtics get a little bit closer to banner 18. But it's something that I do believe would be transformative for an area of the city that needs this. And anyway, I'll leave it at that. Spoke too long. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to come in and say hello. Yeah.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone who wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any public official that wants to be heard on the issue? Council.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Jeff Thompson, Ward 5 City Councilor. I'd like to speak on behalf of this project and give it my, my highest approval. As stated, this is an area of Brockton that needs redevelopment, and I'm happy that that the development of Brockton is moving further north. This board, I believe, approved the Alden building to be redeveloped into residential and commercial use. This building's just stone's throw from that development. As stated, there were problems with the original plan, and you brought those problems to the developer's attention, and he fixed those problems, I believe. It should be to the satisfaction of this board. Again, this is an industrial area that really has no use, an industrial use. Brockton's changing. And this is a project that shows the change in Brockton. I believe it's good for the city, it's good for the ward, and I ask that you recommend it favorably. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Any other elected official wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. That completes the public discussion. I'll now open it up for deliberation by the board members.
I think, personally, I think, when they came before us last time, I think the architect had just kind of stepped into this, if I'm not mistaken there, and I think that he kind of had to deal with a lot of things at once before he came to our meeting, and I think, from my opinion, they've actually taken through our discussion up in front of them the things we had concerns about and made some serious changes and determinations of priority, and you don't always see that when people come back before the board. So I think personally, I'm in favor of a project like this, especially that portion of the city is suffering greatly, and you can say we can talk about a lot of idiosyncrasies about Charles Street and North Main, but I think in the end, if we do not move forward with projects like this, the city will have a dilapidated old garage on that property, and that doesn't do anything to help any of the residents. And I just believe that this is progress moving up, like the council said, up North Main Street. It's a nice-looking building. Just the ornateness of it alone, I think, will add a lot of texture and the character of what that neighborhood was. If you go on the other side of Charles Street, it's going to fit that neighborhood, although that building doesn't look as nice as it once did, but this will help to bring some of that back.
I would agree with you. I would say it's the highest and best use. For the downtown area, from our master plan, we're starting to amend it to go north. So we do need footholds, higher and higher north to start, gravitating in these areas. And what's coming across the street with Father Bill's and that plan in effect is only going to complement the growth in that direction. So I would say it's obviously, in my opinion, and where I think the city's going to be the highest and best use.
I agree also, and I think our recommendations from the last meeting were all addressed. And I would like to see a signal out there for the pedestrians knowing when a vehicle is exiting. But I don't know if that's up to planning.
Yeah, we could absolutely do that in the planning stage, yeah. It's a good plan. It's ironed out quite a few issues. It's not perfect yet, but it still has to see planning.
Okay.
One of the concerns that I had with this building was the building sitting directly on the property line. And the visuals coming out of Charles Street onto North Main Street are difficult right now, and we've had to address some of those in the Traffic Commission. And the original proposed building, it was no better than what's there right now. I think it is a smart move on the part of developers to sit a building of this type back from the street. so that there can be some kind of a green space, and also it gives you the visual, not only at the intersection, but coming out of the garage also. So I think that was an improvement of moving that building. And I will say to you that I did find the small four-story building that you were talking about on my plan. I have it. So I think that's an improvement to drop it down to the number of units that you're putting in. I will tell you that I have received notice that this project will have to go to tech review and the planning board meetings if it is approved by ZBA. So based upon that, that was my comment about some of the comments you heard here, that I think those can be addressed there.
Motion to grant?
Second.
All right. We didn't put any stipulations on this at all, did we? It's straightforward.
Yeah, because it does have to see the planning board, so.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to grant as presented the revised plans as presented tonight. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Delanus?
Yes.
Chief Nadelli?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry?
Yes.
Chair Galligan?
Yes.
Chair, that is 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Thank you.
The petition is granted. Next petition, 2323, the petition of Michael Heichel, care of 1325 Belmont Street, Brockton, Mass., for a variance seeking relief from Article 3, Section 2712, to determine that the lot is an existing lot of record and buildable. Article 3, Section 2729, for a variance seeking relief from frontage, rear side, and front setback lot size. And Article 3, Section 2713A, for a variance from lot width in an R1C zone located 37 Lawn Street. So there's two issues before us on this case. One is a request of the petitioner to determine that this is an existing lot, and secondly, a request for a variance.
Correct. Good evening, Chairman Galligan, members of the board. Chris Vale. Here with me is Michael Heichel, the petitioner, and with us is Matthew Tavares from J.K. Holmgren Engineering. As you heard from the chairman, this is an appeal to the board seeking to approve the subject property as a pre-existing non-conforming buildable lot in accordance with the city's ordinance, Article 3, Section 2712, or in the alternative, Mr. Heichel is seeking a variance to create a buildable lot under Article 3, Sections 27-9 and 13A. Some particular facts about our project is Lot 12 and 13, as shown in the plan, consist of what is currently now Plot 5, which is in an R1C zone located at 37 Lawn Street here in the city. Historically, these lots were recorded as Plots 5 and 6. Historically, proposed Lot 12 was a buildable lot and has always been described independently in a 1978 deed titled Plan of House Lots belonging to J.W. Hall and A.P. Poole, which was a deed back in 1887, which is recorded with the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds, which I've attached as Exhibit Number 1. This proposed Lot 12 still sits vacant, abutting proposed Lot 13, where an existing single-family home does exist. Unbeknownst to the owners, the Celias, this vacant plot was retired and merged into now the current Lot 5 back in 1959. It has always been the Celias owners' belief and intention to keep both of these lots separate from one another. I've attached Exhibit 2, which show that these lots have always been described as two independent lots, but within one general meet and bounds description on the deed. This is required as being a lot of record for the Section 2712 analysis. The building department determined that the proposed lot was not a buildable lot due to the lots being merged and that the property being improved with a single-family home that I have attached as Exhibit Number 3. But Mr. Heichel, the petitioner, would like to restore these two historic lots back to the original intent in order to build a single-family residence on proposed 12 lot. This existing single-family residence would be on proposed Lot 13, which would have 7,529 square feet, a little bit over 63 feet of frontage, 10.7 feet front setback, 10.5 feet side setback, and have a 29.9 feet rear setback. The Lot 12, which would now have a new single-family residence built upon it, would have 5,488 square feet, 67 feet of frontage, 29 feet of a front setback, 12 feet of a side setback, and would meet the rear setbacks of having 30 feet. Both lots would conform with other properties in the neighborhood, having ample amount of green space and parking from the far corner for safety reasons on Lawn Street. The neighborhood would benefit by having a new home constructed, which would improve the looks and also add value to homes in the already constructed neighborhood. Part of my memo, I explained why I believe that the 2712 does apply here, which in applying the factors of 2712, Plot 6, as shown in Exhibit 2, shown as Lot 12 on our plan, is a lot of record by virtue of it having been described separately on the deed recorded with the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds. This retired Lot 6 is and has always been vacant. The retired Lot 6 is not adjacent to vacant land, rather is adjacent to a residential structure on all sides. And the retired Lot 6 and the adjacent Lot 5 were and have always been in common ownership by the Celias. However, if the board does decide that 2712 does not apply, we are looking for the variance, in which I've described some of our hardships with the property. In the present case, the homeowners always did believe that they owned two separate lots that have never, or that were never merged, as they were labeled as two separate lots in their deed. As well, in addition, the plot is on the corner of two roads in the city, and the former vacant lot has become an attractive nuisance where people have been dumping trash and leaves onto an already over-treed parcel of land. So to conclude, we are asking the board to determine that Plot 6 as shown on the plan is buildable by right under 2712, or in the alternative to grant us a variance in order to build this lot. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Board members, any questions?
So I guess this was very confusing to me when I was doing it, because we're talking about lots 12 and 13, and we're also talking about Lot 6.
So they currently...
I guess I'm just trying to wrap my head around, on, correct me if I'm wrong, on Lawn Street is which lots? What you say are which lots?
Right now, I believe it's Plot 5. However, Plot 6 was retired. On our plan, we're showing it as lots 12 and 13. And
sorry, if I may, Michael Heichel. So, in essence, when we're looking at...
Bring the microphone with you, Michael.
Lots 12 and 13 were on the initial 1887 plan that was designed.
Yep, I got that one here.
1959, that became lots 5 and 6. There's a plan that shows two plots, which should be in there.
I got it too, yeah.
Okay, so Lot 5 has the house on it, as you could see.
Yep.
Plot 5, I should say. And Plot 6 is the, Plot 6 is the, where the retired lot, and the other lot is where the existing house is sitting on. Does that?
So can you explain to me the definition, I guess, in the Plymouth County Register of Deeds as retired? I guess that's another, like, with reading his stuff, I guess I was kind of, I was ready to retire. No,
I don't believe that the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds retired the lot more than the city did. And they said that it merged in because they there was a structure on a adjacent lot, correct?
1980, that lot was retired. 1959, they still both existed as lots 5 and 6.
So the city arbitrarily just retired the lot?
Retired it. And
How
I
is
had
that
asked the
possible?
assessors, so Lawn Street had ended, what about here?
Okay.
Actually, right before it takes a bend, becomes Henry.
Okay.
Later on, what they did is they took lots that were, during the process, there were lots that were described, if you will, by single measures, and retired them. I spoke to the assessors about that. That's what he thinks had happened back at the time. But then Henry Street got created, and the duplex lots were created on that end.
So correct me if I'm wrong, if they were going to just go and retire somebody, I know if I owned a lot and I was the homeowner, I'd be wanting someone to tell me, oh, I'm retiring your lot so I could fight it or whatever the case may be. I guess, how did this just happen, I guess? And I'm not asking you to answer that question, but it makes our job very difficult now because Plymouth County Registry of Deeds says one thing, the city says another thing, and we're kind of caught in the middle because we can't make lots. If it's not a lot, it's not a lot. If it's a lot, it's a lot. You know,
I completely understand, and based on, I know it was back in 1959 or...
Those are the two lots. But 1980, they were
1980, basically what we're basing the opinion on why the city did it is...
Do I have a copy of that in
Exhibit
here?
3. Exhibit 3?
I probably do. I got it, yeah. No.
There should be a succession of deeds.
Yes, there are. They're written very small.
There's a...
And then exhibit number 2 shows that it just says underneath the book, it just says plot 6 is retired, and then you can see the number 6 is just scratched out.
So was there a determination from the, I know you said from the assessor's office, they say there's no longer a lot. Was this challenged in the law department or anything, or was?
It was not. The only notes that we have is just saying not buildable, the property is improved with a single-family home. And that was on the abutting lot.
Okay. But you folks did not challenge it with the law department to see what the city already said. I don't even know if that would be appropriate, quite honestly. But, okay.
So at the time, at this time also, the owner is 102 years old, and she's in a nursing home.
Okay.
And the permission we got was from the power of attorney, who was her nephew, and he's in his 80s. And he had no knowledge when I brought this to him to show him that this is the reason why. He said, we never did that. We never retired it, so he's not familiar with how that happened.
And I believe maybe the practical way of challenging it is if we were to get denied here, then we could challenge it through law or
but nothing was
land court.
All right. I just didn't know if they had something on it. All right. Thank you. I apologize if I sounded confused, because I was.
It is confusing.
We have had similar situations with these, and the one I'm going to refer to is the situation on Carlin Road, which was an old 1800s map that showed 3 lots. They came before us requesting those 3 lots, and it was denied. It went to Superior Court, and the judge made a landmark decision that still stands today, that the buildability of those 3 lots is based upon the deeds. So if you purchased a piece of property with one deed that had mets and bounds that encompassed all 3 lots, you had 1 lot. So I researched the deeds on these lots, and in 1889, lots 12 and 13 were together on a single deed. 1939, lots 12 and 13 together on a single deed. 1959, lots 12 and 13 on a single deed. 1978, lots 12 and 13 together on a single deed. So when these were passed down, sold, whatever, it was one set of mets and bounds that described both lots. So both of these lots are considered to be 1 lot. Now, this board cannot split these lots. We don't have the authority to do that. You can go to the Registry of Deeds and separate these lots and create 2 lots, but that doesn't create a buildable lot. So you would still end up coming back asking for variance for that. So I have a document here from the building department relative to 37 Lawn Street, and it's dated January 26th of '22, and it says it's not a buildable lot, the property is improved with a single-family home. That was not appealed. There's a 30-day appeal period. It was not appealed. So that stands. So I think what you're looking for here tonight is a variance to allow a house to be built on what you're calling Lot 5. Lot 5 does not exist. It's all one lot.
Yes, I think just my challenge is that based on, I understand your point with the one deed, however, as practical senses, a lot of times they did describe each lot separately in one deed, and I know a lot of practical senses is to do that is to avoid having multiple deeds out there, saves money with the recording fees.
The controlling factor that we have garnered from these court cases that we got involved with on this, because it's gone back and forth, as you know, in different directions, is that if the one deed describes 3 lots, and it says Lot 1, Lot 2, Lot 3, and it's all one deed, you own 1 lot. You don't own 3. In the deed, it can describe what was originally plot or Lot 1, 2, and 3 as a description of the entire Mets and bounds. So the way I read this right now is you've got 1 lot here that is described in 1, 2, 3, 4 deeds going back to 1889 as 1 lot. So if you want to create a lot to build a house on Plot 5, Plot 5 does not exist. I would think that you would have to get a separate deed for that lot and then come before this board with that deed of separating that lot from the other one to get a ruling from us that to grant a variance for that corner lot. So now the problem becomes, in our section, in 27 says that if a lot is already undersized, it's not supposed to be made any further undersized. That's already in the law. Secondly, if the existing house, which sits on Plot 6, is going to be sitting on a much smaller lot, I would think you're going to need a variance for that lot also, because now you've created a new lot. That's not an existing lot anymore. So you're creating a new lot with a house that does not conform to side yard setback. So I think there's a couple of things at work here that got to be straightened out.
Sorry, I understand. I just wanted to justify the motivation of why there was 2 lots with separate measurements on them till 1980. Not sure why there wasn't just 1 lot.
I can't answer that because sometimes the downstairs records are a little different than the upstairs records. But what we're going by and what the judge has ruled in prior cases where we've gone to Superior Court is the controlling factor here is the last deed under which that property was transferred. And I found back to 1889, 1, 2, 3, 4 deeds that all say the same thing, that it is all 1 lot. So honestly, I don't see how this board, I mean, it will determine what the board wants to do. But first of all, a request was made to determine that that lot was a buildable lot, and it's not. And you had 30 days to appeal that, and nobody appealed it. So that denial stands. Now, you want us to make a decision that it is a freestanding lot, and I'm not prepared to do that. If a deed was created, creating that Lot 5, you would then have a separate lot deeded, but now it would be unbuildable. Now you still need a variance for that. And if Lot 5 is owned by the same owner as Lot 5 and 6, now you're going to need a variance for Lot 6 because it's owned by the same owner. So that's how I understand it. And on your plans, the question I have also is you have a 17-foot setback on Martin Street, and the setback on a corner lot, the side setback of the house needs to be the same as the front setback, which would be on Lawn Street. So instead of the side yard, which would be 30 feet, you only have 17 feet. So there's a lot of things at work here. So I just want you to understand that that's how I understand it. And board members, any questions? If not, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official here that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing, and that concludes the public discussion. I'm now going to open it up for deliberation among the board members.
So, Mr. Chair, as I understand it, there wouldn't be a deed to stand on to record a variance? Is that what we're saying here? If we decided to pursue a variance, or if that was what we wanted to allow?
We don't have the authority to subdivide property. So my thought was, if they want to go to Plymouth and create a new piece of property with Mets and bounds and whatever.
Okay.
Now they would have a new piece of property, but it would not be sufficient to support the construction of a house. So even if they do create this lot by a new deed, separating it from the original one, they still have to come back before zoning for relief. And I think that where the two plots are owned by the same people, they're going to need two variances, one for the lot that they made much smaller, which would be Lot 6, in addition to Lot 5.
Okay.
And as far as the request to determine that the lot is an existing lot of record and is buildable, I just want to refer to the letter that was sent to the building inspector, and in his investigation of it has determined that it is not a buildable lot. So now it appears as though one of the requests is they want us to overrule the decision of the building inspector, when in fact the decision was made by the building inspector, and they had 30 days to challenge his decision, and nobody challenged it. So that's a dead issue.
When was that made?
This was January 26th of 2022.
Okay.
So that time frame has gone by. So I'll defer to the board how you want to handle this thing. I just don't think that we can grant a variance on a piece of property that doesn't exist. If they had a separate deed for that corner lot, then they would have an argument that they have a lot and they want relief, and they would have a case to come before us. But right now, it's all one lot.
Excuse me, I just have a question. What was the reason for even having lots 5 and 6 on Exhibit 2 as part of the assessor's plans before it was changed in 1980?
Because the assessor's records downstairs differ from the building department and our determination through the courts that the binding decision is based upon the last deed. What the people bought in their last deed determines what that piece of property is, irregardless of what it said back in the 1800s. All right, so any other comments from board members?
So I guess there's really no option to attach, you'd have to attach a variance to a deed, and there's no deed to be attached.
How did they get to us? I guess, like, I know you can file a variance, but like, it shouldn't even gotten to this point, am I correct? I'm just thinking out loud.
Well, they've presented an argument that they believe that they have two lots.
Well, I could go and present that I have 6. It doesn't mean it's true. I guess, and I'm not, nothing against Mr. Villa. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm just trying to understand this myself, because I wouldn't want to waste my time coming here, quite honestly, if I didn't even have the option to even have anything happen, I guess, is
The only reason why we came...
My point in saying what I said is that we were involved in a Superior Court case relative to 3 lots that the petitioner argued that it was one lot. We made our decision, they appealed it, went to Superior Court. The land court determined that the last deed of what the people bought is the controlling factor. So if you have 3 lots with 100 feet of frontage and 100 feet of depth, and the deed says 300 by 100, then you have one lot that's 300 by 100. If you had 3 separate deeds that were prior to 1967, those would be buildable lots. They would be so-called grandfathered lots. But there is no separate deed. And we've gone that route too in years gone by, where we denied the buildability of a lot when in fact the court ruled that there was a deed in effect that described the lot that was in question. And that was Pioneer Avenue. And when they made that determination, they said as long as there's a valid deed in place, it is a buildable lot. After 1967, all those lots had to come into conformance with the current zoning. If they were deeded prior to 1967, it's the old zoning. So we've had cases that have gone both ways. That's my opinion on it. That's, as a board member, I'm just expressing what we have been through with this. And if they ask for a determination from the building department and it was denied, they should have then applied to the zoning board to overrule the decision of the building inspector. They applied, they were denied, and then did nothing with it. So the appeal period is gone. So now it's a case of a variance. My concern is I can't vote to give a variance on a piece of property that doesn't exist. That's how I see it.
So they would have to go see planning to get it, to straighten that out.
Well, now we have a new situation with planning, that if this lot is on an improved road, it doesn't require subdivision approval. And we had a case like that also where it dragged on, and in Superior Court, the judge ruled that that lot years ago was on an improved lot and it did not need subdivision control. And the case hinged on subdivision control. So now I am of the opinion, what I have recently heard is that in this case, either they would have to go to Plymouth to create a new lot, or they would file an A&R. Either one of those would create the lot, but it doesn't require subdivision control like it did in years gone by. So
It still doesn't make
things
any
have changed a
sense
little
why
bit.
I think this is, I apologize for this, because I feel like you've wasted your time coming before us, quite honestly, because if we can't make you know what I mean? And I know nothing to you guys. If that's the case, then that's the case.
Well, they may not know that.
Okay.
That's why I'm just...
But I also see a problem being if we do subdivide this through Plymouth County, we've now created a lot that is completely undersized, and we don't have a variance in order to do that, so now we're caught in the middle of having...
Yeah.
We didn't create these lines and these
All right, listen,
measurements.
we have finished the public discussion, so we're deliberating. So anybody else want to make any comments on it? How do you see this?
Make a motion to grant?
Second.
So the motion has been made to grant a variance to allow them to construct the home on that lot. Is that the motion?
Yes.
Okay. Seconded?
Seconded, yeah.
Motion's been made and seconded to grant a variance for what they're calling Lot 5. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus.
No.
Chief Nardelli.
No.
Mr. Sweeney.
No.
Ms. Greenberry.
No.
Chair Galligan.
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 0 in the affirmative, 5 in the negative.
Okay, the vote is none in the affirmative, 5 in the negative. The petition is denied.
Thank you.
Okay. The next petition is 2324, the petition of Michael Matha, Post Office Box 4143, Brockton, Mass. The petitioner seeks a determination that the variance, case 19-94, has not lapsed or a variance seeking relief from Article 4, Section 27-9, to allow a residential use, building height, lot area per dwelling, lot coverage, off-street parking, and green space in a C2 zone located at Plot 383 Quincy Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, for the record, Attorney John McCluskey coming before you tonight seeking two options for the Board of Appeals to consider. With me this evening is Michael Mather and Michael Mather. I still have to figure out whose email is whose. I think I know by now. So in 2019, we came before this board and received a variance on a vote of 4-1 for this project. And this project is located, I believe it's now, is it 380 Quincy Street? 380 Quincy Street, which is across the street from the empty lot where Christo's used to be, at the intersection just beyond the gas station heading north. And this is the project that was approved. It's a 39 one-bedroom apartment complex, and it has 53 parking units, some of which I believe are under the building and some of which are on the outskirts of the building. This property was originally in a flood zone, but was removed from the flood zone from the maps were approved by the federal government to do that. And of course, it was approved in December of 2019, and what happens right afterwards? We get COVID. And like everything, and in fact, this is a common theme. I'm going to be filing an appeal this week on a similar issues anyway. And so what it comes down to is that our position, which we believe is well supported by the law, is that a variance under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 10, the law says it must be exercised within 1 year from the date of issuance. So right after it was approved, went through the appeal process, we recorded the variance shortly thereafter, and from then on, my clients exercised their rights under the variance. And I'm going to quote a couple of cases down the road during my presentation, but what does the word exercise mean? Well, if you look at the statute, it doesn't tell you. So it's now case law which determines what the word exercise means. For many, many years, people believed that exercising a variance was getting a building permit. And in most cases, you know, you can get a building permit within 1 year easily from the issuance of the variance. In this particular case, there were lots and lots of things to do. And of course, we were slowed up by COVID because people weren't meeting, things weren't happening. So over the ensuing years, up until fairly recently, my clients pursued an order of conditions, got that, was granted. I believe that's on record in the Registry of Deeds. They spent quite a bit of money on their engineering on that. They worked through the whole process. They connected the water and sewer to the property. And interestingly enough, years ago, I had a case over off West Chestnut Street that it was an over 55 development that was abandoned as far as those restrictions. And there was a lot there that it connected to water and sewer. Building department said the variance had lapsed and 10 years had gone by, but everything else was built out in there. And at the time, the city solicitor, Phil Nazarella, determined that in fact the variance had not lapsed because of the water sewer issue, and there was a sidewalk built in front of the property. So that's a little bit similar here. In addition, my clients went to site plan approval, went through the whole process with the planning board, tech review, approval by the board. They got their order of conditions. They got the property taken out of the flood zone. They connected it to water and sewer. They, as of recently, I think just a few months ago, went before the city council And the question came up as to whether or not they had exercised their rights, and the council members all determined. Of course, they're not the ones that do that, but logic speaks volumes sometimes. And they, what the Mathers were doing, were getting a tax incentive relief program to be able to build this. And I have a document which is part of part of the submission tonight as to the approval by the council on that, and that happened in 2023, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so that just recently happened. Not too long ago, they got wind of the fact that maybe the question was that they didn't get their building permit, which, as I say, in many cases makes sense, but in big projects like this, it's hard to do anything like this within a year. I know there was a moratorium on the variances lapsing, and there was some governmental intervention there to protect those things, but still, we've got a big project, and lots of things had to happen. On April 10, Mr. Mather submitted a request to the building department outlining all of the things that they did and seeking confirmation that, in fact, the variance had not lapsed, including the fact and submitting bills totaling approximately $100,000 that they spent on this project in soft cost, paid the city for the water and sewer connection. So the city's actually taken money for this project, and now, you know, we don't have a building permit. We haven't applied for the building permit yet, but we understand we're not going to get it because of the thought that it's not, we haven't exercised our rights. So they've spent $100,000 in costs throughout the whole project, and now we're at a standstill. And so I file before you tonight a request to make a determination that, in fact, the variance issued in 2019 has not lapsed because they've exercised their rights under the variance. There's a couple of cases worth noting. One is, I believe it's a Jonathan Green case against a Board of Appeals. And that case basically says that you don't have to get your building permit to have exercised your rights. You can do many other things to have exercised your rights. The Cornell case, which is a more recent case, and that says, you know, sort of look at the dictionary. What does exercise mean? It means bring into play, sort of make it start to happen. And I'd say to you exactly that's what these people have done. They've brought it into play. They've made it start to happen. It just takes a long time for a big project like this to happen. And you shouldn't be boxed out after a year if you're really not quite ready to get your building permit. It just doesn't make sense. It's unfair. And I think the building department holds a blind eye, has a blind eye to what the law says, what the case law says, because the statute doesn't help at all. You know, it just doesn't. So you have to look at what the case law says. Case law does say if you get a building permit, you're in. It also says, though, that if you do other things to bring into play and make it start to happen, that you're also in. So based upon that, I would respectfully request that you overrule or make a determination, not even overrule, because there hasn't been an official decision. Make a determination that the variance has not lapsed. Two, in the alternative, which I'm really not crazy about, is to reissue the variance. Because when you reissue the variance, that brings into play appeals, potential issues of, you know, people coming in and appealing. We don't believe there's anyone to oppose this, but in any event, we never got a response to the email that Mr. Mather sent to the building department as to whether the variance was still in effect. So as a safety measure, I would simply say just make a determination that it's still in effect, and we're done. On the alternative, reinstitute the variance that the board granted. You want me to go into hardship?
No, we've been all through that.
Okay. I'm sorry?
We've been all through that.
Right.
Yes. Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed.
Other than the question of whether or not the use variance is still in effect.
Correct.
Mr. Chair, if I could, assuming things go, however the board finds, let's just say they find in your way, what are your immediate plans?
What are what?
What are your plans?
We want to apply for building permit, and we have a buyer for the project, quite frankly.
So we'd get started immediately?
Going to get started. I don't know about immediately, but you know how things...
Sure. Are there any outside factors preventing you financing anything, holding you
I
back?
don't think so. No? I believe we have the support of the council. I know we have the support of the council because they agreed to enter into the tax agreement.
Yeah, that was my question.
Any other questions from board members? Everybody's good? Okay, close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone who wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected officials that want to be heard on the issue? Councilor.
Again, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I support this project. I've been working with Mike Mather Sr. and Jr. on this matter for probably over a year now, working with the mayor's office to get a tie agreement agreed to on this project. This project's going to be a big improvement to this area on the east side of Brockton. It's essentially the gateway to the east side of Brockton, coming from the west, the Whitman area. To have a unit like this on that property, which is currently just an empty lot with a big dirt mound on it, would really improve that area and provide additional housing for people on the east side of Brockton. So I'm in support of the development. I'm in support of the extension or the determination that a variance has not lapsed here. And I just want to kind of touch on this subject. This is going to be a matter that this board's going to have to deal with, I would say, many times coming in the future. Because a project, as stated, I'm not going to make a legal argument. I think Attorney McCluskey made a good legal argument, and I agree with his argument. But projects like this sometimes take more than 1 year to get building permits. So the question of exercising is important. Now, I have spoken with the city solicitor about this issue, and I asked her if she could write a memo directed to the building department and to the members of this board, giving the city's legal analysis on when a variance is exercised. I believe Solicitor Bridges did write a memo a few years ago, but I think that was prior to the new green decision. And so I think our conversation said she would take another look at it and take green into account in this new memorandum. But it's becoming a financial hardship for some of our developers to have to come back in here when I believe I would say the law is clear as to when a variance is exercised. And so I'm just hoping that the city can resolve this issue and be able to provide the board and the building department a final analysis on when they believe a variance is exercised, and so that these matters don't have to keep coming before you. But I appreciate your consideration on this matter. I would request that you make the determination that the variance has not lapsed and allow this project to move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other elected official who wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion. I'll now open it up for deliberation by the board members. Board members.
I would say, working with the city and its city councilors would constitute forwarding a project. Instead of, pulling a building permit, you can still drag your heels and when you actually get started. But working with the city, working with its representatives, I think this is an impact statement on that side of town, which desperately needs help. But the fact that they've been working in communication with the city's representatives, I would constitute that as advancing a project.
I would agree. I think, you come in Route 14, Route 27, you come in, it'd be nice to have something there than a big empty Christo's lot that was supposed to be developed many years ago that we ended up in a tough situation on. So I think, looking at all the plans I have here and now looking here, it's a beautiful building. I think, this would be incredible for that area.
Yeah, and taking into consideration the timing of this with COVID and all the delays too, and I do think a project of this size does sometimes require more than a year. So I'm in favor of this.
And I think the point of it too, it's been started. It's not, like, again, to the city council's point, this is when you talk in Council Kluski's thing, it's an exercise. It's been started. It's just, there's been some, for lack of a better term, some hoops that have to go through to get to this point. So, it's not like they were sitting on their hands not doing anything with this. There was a lot going on to try to get this to where it needed to be. They were working hard at that.
I think we really have to, as a board, have to really analyze case by case what the applicant is doing actively outside of a building permit, to constitute these, because there are going to be a few of these. So, again.
And financially, I think they spent, over $100,000 on this already, so.
I think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Chief.
I think the issue before us tonight is whether or not this variance that was granted has been exercised. And in my readings of several court cases, it appears as though on a dimensional variance, it's pretty cut and dried that if we grant you sideline setback for an addition and you fail to do anything with that addition within a year, you lose the variance. In a use variance, there seems to be a little different interpretation by the different judges that I have read here on the court cases. And one of them that struck me was exercise is determined by the acts taken by the holder in reliance on the variance. They need not be fully carried out by building. The board should request proof of recording, which is paramount. If they don't record this, then it's definitely dead. In this case, it was recorded in a timely fashion. So the recording and/or action taken to constitute an exercise within the 1 year or extended window before deciding whether or not a variance has in fact lapsed. So what we need to do is to look at the timeline of things that have taken place at this location. And I made a list here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 actions that have been taken by the petitioner in furtherance of keeping this variance alive. Now, if you take into consideration that somebody is going to build somewhere where there's conservation involved, and they have to go through several conservation hearings that take more than 1 year, could the delay of the conservation kill this whole project? The other issue on the flip side of that is, would a petitioner want to invest in a lot of finances to make a project so it works and then come to zoning and get denied? So it's whether the cat comes before the horse or whatever. So in this case that you should have had there, Jonathan Green and the Zoning Board of Appeals of Southborough, I think it talks about the petitioner doing a lot of preparatory work, and it extended beyond the 1 year, and the ruling was that the variance was still alive. It did not extinguish itself. And in another case on Grady, the court ruled that the language and intent of General Law, Chapter 40, Sections 7, 10, and 11 do not mandate that actions taken to exercise a variance, such as obtaining a building permit in good faith, must be taken only after the variance has been recorded. So there is some leeway here for a board to determine whether or not the petitioner has acted in good faith in pursuing the use variance. So I look at a use variance mandates a little different than I do than a dimensional variance, where if somebody's going to put an addition on the house, they have a year to get a building permit and get it done. On a use variance, and we've done several of these, the latest determination seems to be that there is some discretionary power here with the Zoning Board of Appeals to determine that the petitioner has acted in good faith and in a timely fashion to work towards fruition of carrying out the variance. So the 1 year, in this case, of a use variance, I think we have some discretion on that. And there's several cases here that you can look up, and from one board member, my concern is that if a petitioner has invested a lot of funds in a project, and that project gets held up because of other agencies that are not acting in a timely fashion, the fact that these timely actions are not taken could cause the petitioner to lose his variance. When we're determining in a use variance that it isn't so much a dimensional variance as it is the use of the property. And once we've determined that the use is appropriate, then I would think that determination's been made. So my reading is of these other cases that have been referred to here, that in the case of a use variance, there is more wide discretion on the board's part than it is on a dimensional variance.
Motion to grant?
On the motion, is there a lighting package on this building? And it's already passed the...
Planning.
Is it going to planning? I think it's already planned.
Yeah, we went through everything.
You went through everything. So this is the final stage here. Is that something, if I can address them, is that something that's on the building?
Well,
I would like to, it's a beautiful building. I would love to stipulate that.
All right, so what we're voting on tonight is, first of all, is the exercising of this variance still in effect? If we vote in the affirmative for that, we're done. If we vote in the negative, the second bite of the apple, so to speak, is they want to go through the variance procedure once again. So the reason I mention planning is I have a note here that plot 383 Quincy Street, those elements can be addressed at the tech review and planning board meetings after the ZBA. So you're going to get another opportunity to do that.
Okay.
but I think this has already gone to site plan approval.
We've
Yeah.
gone through it all.
If they've got approval, we won't see them again.
Well, I'll just tell you the letter I got, so.
I mean, we could we'd volunteer to come back.
All right, so we have a board member. Let's get this back online here. We have a board member that has requested that some type of architectural lighting be used on this building, principally because where it is, it's going to be a showpiece coming in there. Is that something that the petitioner would be amendable to?
Yes.
Okay, that puts that to rest.
Yeah.
All right, so somebody needs to make a motion to grant, and if we vote yes, that means we are voting in favor of the petitioner, and the exercising of the variance is still in effect. A
made
yes
the
vote
motion.
keeps it the way it is.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded
Ms. Delanus?
to
Yes.
grant.
Chief Nadelli?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry?
Yes.
Chair Galligan?
Yes.
Chair, that's 5 in affirmative, 0 in the negative.
All right, the vote is 5 in favor, which we are affirming that the variance is still in effect. It's being exercised. It is granted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, thank you, and board members, thank you, and Mr.
Thank you.
Clerk, thank you. Thank you for the work.
Thank you for your time.
Every case is different.
Oh, yeah, I do too.
Every case is different.
2 hours we need to stand.
Especially when he gets long-winded with the chair. I don't know if he's even exercising the law.
All right, the next petition is 2325, the petitioner John A. and Lisa McCormick, 124 Bradley Avenue, Brockton, Mass., for a variance from Section 27.9, dimensional and density regulations, front, side, and rear yard setback requirements in an R1C zone located at 124 Bradley Avenue. All set,
Good
Bill?
evening. My name is Bill South, Curly and Hanson, representing John and Lisa McCormick, that are here this evening. We were in front of the board about a year and a half ago. The McCormicks wanted to put a second floor addition on with a small attached single story addition on one end of the building. It was denied, and as we read the denials, the opinions of the board were a couple of factors that came into light. One was the size of the building. We're adding a second floor on the existing building, but also extending it that 10 feet, and it did appear to change the nature of the look of the house from the street. One of the recommendations were if we could, do, a change or move or try to make it so that, that look wasn't affected. And on our return, we went to the planning board with a newer plan that we showed that we took that 10-foot addition that was on the side and relocated it into the back. So what you actually have is a pre-existing non-conforming structure with a small 10-foot wide addition attached to the rear that meets your zoning setbacks. And the only additional thing that we were putting on, as was still on the original, was adding a 6-foot porch along the ground level, the length of the building. And that was inside the front yard setback, so that necessitated an application for the variance. The second floor addition's going straight up. The other points that were brought to the applicant's attention was the nature of the inside of the building, what was in there. At the time, personally, that there was a bedroom that was actually in the basement, and there were issues that have been changed since then. There will not be any bedroom located in the basement area. There'll be 2 bedrooms on the second floor, and the remaining 2 bedrooms that are on the first floor would be a total of 4 total bedrooms for the structure. One of the other things also with the architectural look of the building on the attic side or the second floor was the original building did have the dormers in the front and I believe in the rear. Those have all been eliminated. It's just a standard, second floor addition onto the existing structure. If you look on the plans that we've attached to the existing conditions,
Bill, just take the microphone with you when you go.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
You can see that the pictures on the left-hand side here, that this is the existing structure. This is what the house looks like now. This is the other side, front of the house. This is the far side, on this side of the lot. If you look at this other house, this is, again, right to the left of the existing structure that we're trying to put the second floor. And if you look at the architecture, that's basically identical to what they're proposing to do now. The only difference with this one is that small 10-foot addition on the back. And the addition basically was to extend the area, the work area on the kitchen, seating area, enlarge it. Lisa, she does have some handicap that she's gone through life with and continues. And the whole purpose for this is to enlarge that livable area. They have lived there for over 20 years. They love the neighborhood. And we asked that the board, look at the new revisions and grant a variance for us.
Well, the proverbial question, what is the hardship on this piece of property?
Well, the hardship that we view this, the lot's only 70 feet wide by 105 feet deep. It's not a very large lot if you look at the configuration. There's already a structure on it. We're really not changing the complexity
of the use of the lot, to extend just 10 feet into the back area with an addition that conforms, technically, we wouldn't even have to come. It's only because of the front porch we were asking for the variance. It's a small, topography is flat, there's no really change, the conditions, there's no ledge, but the area itself, there's just no place to enlarge the home. Again, they've got two boys at home, they're going upstairs and each having their own bedroom, and utilized, and they only have two small bedrooms on the first floor. And again, one of the main concerns was that bedroom is going to be eliminated in its entirety, use that was in the basement area. There's just on these small lots, with an existing house already on it, the hardship is there's no place else to enlarge on a lot that size. Basically, the configuration of the lot is restrictive.
So you're telling us you can't change the location of the foundation?
That's correct. That's correct. Which, again, is a pre-existing, non-conforming, presently. And it's only the front porch that we're asking for relief on, the 6-foot porch going into the front yard. And the stairs that would access it.
What's the rear yard setback that you're looking for relief from?
The rear yard setback?
Yeah, in the petition it says front, side, and rear yard setback. So the north side of the house right now, you have 9'6" to the current foundation. So you're looking for relief on that because you're putting an addition on the house?
Well, it's the rear yard. We're not asking for any relief under the setback variances requested under the submittal.
All right, is that Scrivener's error?
I would say yes.
All right, so it looks to me like you need relief from the porch on the front and the 9'6" on the side. Other than that, looks like it fits.
Correct.
Now, one other thing you may want to request here is the number of structures that are on this property. And I'll defer to the building inspector. Give me some help on this one. It looks like you've got a shed, a pool, and a gazebo. Looks like there's 3 structures. You can only have 2, so you would be perhaps requesting relief for the 3rd structure?
The swimming pool, you do consider that as a structure. The gazebo, yes, we'd have, if we could add to that, we'd like to ask for relief for the shed would certainly be the third structure. It's a small, what's it, a 10 by 10 shed?
8 by 10.
8 by 10, very small. Existing, it's been there probably since you moved in. It's been there for a long time. And just as a answer for your side yard, the 9'6", we're asking for the relief because it is a pre-existing non-conforming, and we are adding or changing that non-conforming structure. That's why we're asking for the side yard for the 9'6".
Right, that's how I would see it too.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're looking for relief from the setback because of the porch on the front, and the addition on the house causes the 9'6" to come into play.
Yes. The other thing, if you'll notice on the relief, is on the back of the house, they have a deck that's around the pool now. The pool is what we'd call a subterranean pool. Half, or 2 feet, 3 feet is in the ground, and the rest of it is, it's 6 feet total in depth. The rest of it is above ground. So it's actually a pot in ground, above ground. But the reason I bring that, with the addition in the back, they're just adding to the deck around the pool, bringing it into the back of the building. And because it's tied into the pool and the deck that's there, we're asking for the side yard relief to the existing deck, because we've now connected it to the main structure. It's not freestanding.
So that would be the 6'5"? Existing pool deck? Just in front of the shed?
Yeah, 5'5" to the existing pool deck. It's existing now. We're not changing or building. It's because it's unattached now with the pool, but we're attaching the deck to the house. So I wanted to make sure that that wasn't an issue as far as the existing setback now where it's pre-existing, but because we are connecting the new deck,
Now it's altogether different.
well, that's why we're asking for the variance.
Correct. So I think you're looking at left side, right side, front, and relief from the number of structures in the backyard.
Yes, sir.
That would kind of clean up everything.
Yes, sir.
All right, board members. Questions? This was before us once before. It was denied, and one of the biggest problems we had was the addition was going on the left side, which really cut into the side yard setback, so this is a drastic change. All right, close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor?
Evening, Chairman and Board. I am the neighbor of Lisa and John, and I am in favor of them extending their home because I also would like to in the near future, not yet, but I do have a large-sized family and the house is the rooms are small.
Okay, can you give your name to the clerk?
My name is Cynthia Creighton, and I live at 130 Bradley Ave.
130. So you're
Yes.
to the right side of them?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor? If not, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone who wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close the portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Councilor.
Good evening again, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Jeff Thompson, Ward 5 City Councilor. This is my first impression of this plan, but if the request is just to I've heard all of the variances for the side yard, rear yard, backyard, and front yard setbacks. I mean, the footprint itself is not changing much other than the extension in the front. It seems like that's going to help this family right-size this house for their family. I've heard no opposition. Nobody's reached out to me in opposition of this project, and so I ask that you grant the variance. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Is there any other elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion on the issue. I'll now open it up for deliberation by the board members.
I think the relief required is very minimal to the progression that's going to be in that neighborhood. You can already start to see the neighbor wants to do a similar thing, and there's already on that street similar structures. So I think it would be not too far to reach. So I would be in favor. Motion to grant.
Second.
On the motion, what we're taking a vote on is the setbacks that were requested, and also we're adding the ability to have a third structure in the backyard as opposed to two. Everybody's good with that?
Yes.
Okay, so motion's been made and seconded to grant. All those, Mr. Clerk, go ahead.
Mr. Lanus?
Yes.
Chief Nadelli?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry?
Yes.
Chair Galligan?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
The vote is 5 in the affirmative. The petition is granted.
Thank you for the board.
That is the last case to come before us tonight.
Motion adjourned.
The motion to
Second.
adjourn. Motion's been made second, and we are adjourned.